Look at this crowd. Holy cow. We had about 400 people RSVP for this groundbreaking ceremony today. I don't know if that's how many people are here, but this is just a fantastic representation of how excited people are about this community project is by this turnout. So thank you all so much for coming today. We ordered the weather. It's absolutely perfect. My name is Brooke Hafes. I am the Vice President of Donor Engagement for On Broadway and the future Green Bay Public Market.
Garrett Bader, board member for On Broadway. Good morning, everyone. There are two ways to know right off the bat how important this was today. Number one, we had to close down the street because look at you all. This is fantastic how many people are here. The second reason is, you know it's an important day when Garrett wears a tucked-in shirt into a pair of non-jeans. Okay? We're so close, and that's why we're here today, so thank you all for being here.
All right, to start our program today, it is my honor to introduce the chairman of Oneida Nation, Tahasi Hill. Chairman Hill is serving his third term as chairman of Oneida Nation, and we couldn't be more pleased that he's here today and to help us break ground on this new partnership.
Suguli swagwake. Dehasidazi Nyungat Swagislewage Nugitaloda Unyota Nigwa Hunjota. Greetings everyone, I'm Dehase Hill. I announced that I'm a Bear Clan and my people are the people of Standing Stone, also known as Oneida. So I just got some real brief remarks to start us off this morning. So let us acknowledge and pay respect to the land on which we gathered today and acknowledge the Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and Oneida nations as the stewards of this land. We honor our ancestors by paying respect to the land and by continuing to acknowledge and teach the history of Indigenous peoples. We are still here. On behalf of the Oneida Nation and the Oneida Business Committee, I'm honored to be here today for this groundbreaking ceremony for the Green Bay Public Market. What an exciting project to be a part of. The Green Bay Public Market will serve as a catalyst for increased opportunities for both Green Bay and the Oneida community. The economic partnerships, the cultural and educational components of this partnership increase opportunities for both Green Bay and the Oneida community, and then also reaching beyond our exterior boundaries to expand knowledge and prospective opportunities. So again, Yawango. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, in my time with On Broadway, I've watched our team grow in number, in vision, and in tenacity. I've been very fortunate enough to earn the confidence of our staff, of my boss, of our board of directors to lead the capital campaign on this project. And through that process, I have gotten to know many of you in this crowd so much better on a deeper level. And your generosity to this project has made me really fall in love with this city even more. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your commitment to this project. It has been really inspiring to get to know you and see your commitment to the city of Green Bay and the downtown. We believe that this project is gonna have tremendous impact that is gonna overflow into the entire district, the entire downtown, the entire city, even the entire region. So it's important, and again, the number of folks who are here today to support this is proof of that, so thank you.
A lot of clapping today, folks. That's the rule. Must clap. Look, many of us are here. We've talked to so many people in the community. How do you know about a facility like this? Those who have been to other markets have seen the energy they create, the business environment, the growth, the community get-togetherness. Many of us believe that from when we first came to really champion this project and how it came to be, how On Broadway now is the right partner, the right organization to do that. So we are excited, again, those of us as board members, those of us as staff, to really bring this into the community and make it a place that we're all going to be incredibly impressed with and proud of. It's truly a generational, once-in-a-lifetime project, and we'll all have something soon of which to be very proud.
So On Broadway has an incredible team, an incredible staff who works day in and day out to make this a really awesome place to spend time, the Broadway District. I do want to quickly introduce you to the team that is focused on making the Green Bay Public Market happen. So we have Brian Johnson, give a wave right in the front row there, our fearless leader, president and CEO. Mary Rohde, our vice president of marketing and communications. Ron Franklin, where are you? Raise your hand, Ron. I don't know where he is. There he is. All right, Ron Franklin, Vice President of Operations for the Green Bay Public Market, and then myself. Now, the four of us will transfer our on-Broadway duties in some capacity, some of us entirely, some of us in parts, maybe 50%, over to the Green Bay Public Market once it's launched. So we have a very competent staff. We're very excited, and this is the team that's going to bring it to fruition and open these doors.
And my part is to say something that Brooke can't, being staff, but from as a board member, but even as a community member, many of the events that we know and love coming to, On Broadway puts on, and the work that these folks do to make them happen cannot be overstated. Name the event you've been to: Fall Fest, Winter Fest, coming up soon the Chris Kindle Market, of course, and Winter Wine Walks, and of course our amazing Wednesday Farmers Market during the summers. Those events just don't happen. And they're hard. And I think being here today is a testament to a project like this. These big generational projects don't just happen. They take time and they take a hell of a lot of effort, let me tell you. So from a somewhat outsider's perspective, once again, another hand for our amazing staff and all that they do to make these events and projects happen.
And of course, our staff could not do it without our board of directors.
We have many folks that will be introduced here throughout the day, but we'll start out with Barb Lemieux, our board president, CEO of the New North. Come on up, Barb.
Good morning, everyone. What a phenomenal day in Northeast Wisconsin and in the city of Green Bay. We certainly want to acknowledge our elected officials that are here today. I apologize in advance if we missed anyone, but we hope that we can connect after we throw some dirt here in a little bit and inside. We want to acknowledge the Wisconsin Department of Administration Assistant Deputy Secretary Diana Moss, City of Green Bay Mayor Genrich, Brown County Supervisor Troy Streckenbach, Chairman Tahasi Hill, Oneida Nation, Representative from Tammy Baldwin's office, Jennifer Gardner, Brown County Board Supervisor Jessica Adams and Dan Thino, Northeast Wisconsin Regional Director of the Office of the Governor, Carl Wojtowskiak, Alderman Jim Hutchinson, Alderman Craig Stevens, Alderman Brian Johnson, and Chairman Pat Buckley. We wish to acknowledge all of these, so if you could please stand to accept our support. We realize being an elected official, especially in today's turbulent times, are not easy, so a gratitude for the service that you provide. We also want to acknowledge our board of directors, and we are incredibly proud of the On Broadway team that was just mentioned. We know we need strong leaders, and thank you to Brian. Brian surrounded himself with a very strong board of directors, and I am incredibly honored to serve with these individuals. I'm going to call out their names, and at the end I would ask them to stand to be recognized. We have board member Kasia Hunt-Takowski, Drew Carney, Gail McNutt, Garrett Bader, Linda Bova, Tommy Everman, Brad Toll, Chad Van Handel, Heather Mueller, Jackie Kruitz, Ryan Martin, Ken Wachter, and Ryan Crummery. Please all stand to be recognized. Believe me, we've had many meetings, gone into executive session. We all believe that good things are worth waiting for. And under Brian's leadership, we're here today to celebrate the status of the project thus far. I believe our conversation started back in 2021, Brian, maybe even longer than that. But we closed on the property, we meaning On Broadway Incorporated, in April of 2022. We sat as a board discussing to begin with the end in mind, taking a look of what could be, taking a look at this facility. Many people traveled to public markets, not only across the country, but around the world. And you'll hear more about the design as the program continues. This is a complex project. Clearly we had existing tenants with long-term lease agreements, taking a look at how we form the capital stack, how this development will fit into the rest of our community and the region. And I'm here to tell you at New North, I serve 18 counties in Northeast Wisconsin. There is nothing like this in all of Northeast. So this is truly going to be a magnet. We also needed to take a look at the right mix of tenants and programming, and you'll hear about some of the vendors a little later on in the program. We also wanted to make sure that this was a market that would serve everyone, so you'll see the lend to diversity and inclusion in not only the tenants that are in the market, but as the people that we serve. And in the end, we realized that this was critically important. Brad, is here to really talk about, too, from a visitor perspective. Our number one draw, I think we all know it, it's our beloved Packers and Lambeau Field. And we've been trying to discuss about how do we better bring visitors that are here for that monumental site to get them into the downtown. And we feel that this public market will do just that. We also took a look at the economic impact and the development that would have around this particular community, not only just in the building, behind the building, on either side of the building, but the economic impact that it will drive into the city of Green Bay. The number of customers that would be visiting and also helping to circulate and support our economy. And then we also ran projections on the economic impact annually that this would bring into our community. We are incredibly proud of the many people that are here today, our donors, our volunteers, our board, the staff, people that have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to get us to the point where we are today. So on behalf of the board, I am truly excited to be with you today. And for all of us, now it is full steam ahead. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Barb. All right, it is now my turn to call two incredible mentors to the stage, two very influential leaders in the city of Green Bay, some of the best that Green Bay, I think, has to offer. I've been taking notes under their leadership this entire time. So please, Paul Jaden and Ken Stromiska, please come on up to the podium. Paul Jaden is the former mayor of the city of Green Bay, former president and CEO of the Green Bay Chamber of Commerce, former secretary and CEO of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. His resume, his accolades, his relationships, they go on and on. Another wise voice in the room, Ken Stromiska. He is serving as the chair of our capital campaign cabinet. I've been very grateful to learn from his strategy. He's been at it from the beginning, teaching me the way along the way, and I'm very, very grateful for that. He is the one ensuring that private philanthropy in this community really steps up to the plate. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Ken served as president and CEO of the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation for a decade, and he is now the founder, vice president, and chief operating officer of Anovia Health. So Paul and Ken, take it away.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, and welcome. It seems just like yesterday that we had created On Broadway, and we're launching a new program here with development. And in fact, I think it was yesterday, because last night I was visited by 3 ghosts. And the ghost of Broadway future brought me here this morning. And I'm absolutely delighted to see that the vision we created almost 30 years ago is really taking shape. And I want to thank sincerely my 2 successors, Mayor Schmidt and Mayor Genrich, for following with the investment in this district and for continuing to pursue that vision, which is so important. And very briefly, I'd like to thank some of the key contributors to this project. And first and foremost, that would be Dick and Sharon Resch, who are naming this square, the Resch Square. Their lead gift really added momentum to this campaign. I also want to thank all the government supporters and all of you out there who haven't yet given, but are going to be very generous, as I know you will be. And now I have to get back to 1995, and I'm taking this, I don't know what this is, but someone gave it to me. I'm taking it back with me. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Paul. Anybody can dream. That's the easy part. But only communities like Green Bay can do. And that's what we're going to see, what we can do here together. And part of that, making things happen, is private giving. And so this is a great example of a project that is going to take public dollars and private dollars. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the private dollars that make things like this happen. So we had an objective of $8 million to raise. And as Brooks said, we've been at this now for about a year. So $8 million is the goal. I'm pleased to announce that today we've got about $7 million in commitments. So that's a huge, thank you. Yes, that's worth applauding. So we've had a lot of wonderful, great lead donors. And there's a donor board inside. So if you take a look and then if you run into any of these people, tell them you really appreciate that they're supporting this vision for Green Bay. We've got $1 million to go, and Paul's already asked you for your support. And we need donations. That last $1 million, we're going to get them from the community. And so we really look forward to engaging many of you to make this happen. And we can't do it alone either. We've got a number of wonderful volunteers. So for those of the campaign fundraising team, if you're here, could you please just stand up and raise your hand? And let's give these people a round of applause because they're out there asking their friends, their colleagues, their companies. I know some of you. There's Tim, awesome. Thank you guys very much for helping us make this possible. We also want to give a shout out to a person who was very influential in the early phases of the campaign and continues to be, Bridget O'Connor and O'Connor Connective. And I know Bridget is here somewhere, so let's give her and her team a round of applause for all they've done to help us. Thank you. And lastly, I'm just going to ask you one more time to become a part of this, because we all need to pull the wagon to make this happen, and I know that we can do it. So thank you very much, and enjoy this beautiful day.
Thank you both. As they sit down, I want to remind everybody that if you weren't at our State of the Broadway District event earlier this year, we announced that we as on Broadway have renamed our annual Community Impact Award the Paul Jaden Community Impact Award. And the work that Paul did as mayor, as he's done to help us here, of course, and many things in the years in between, that can't also be overstated how wonderful and how helpful and beneficial that's been to us in this project. So one more time again, hand for Paul. Thank you. From mayor's past now to mayor's present, I'd like to welcome up Mayor Eric Gemrick, a great supporter of this project, of the community, of my projects personally, and it's all very, very appreciated. So Mayor Gemrick, please come on up.
Well, thanks so much, Garrett. Yes, I'm Eric Gemrick, Mayor of the City of Green Bay, or for today's purposes, the ghost of the present. Really excited to be joining all of you. A lot has been said and said very well, so I don't want to repeat anything, but just really wanted to emphasize what former Mayor Jaden had said in terms of his work to establish On Broadway here, engage in a ton of revitalization efforts, without which we would not be here today. In addition to that, of course, the work that Mayor Schmidt had done with his Common Council in terms of preserving the Larson Green campus and all of the work that's been done to revitalize that area of our near west side and the district here. All of that work is really critical to bringing us to today, which I hope and believe will really be a milestone achievement for On Broadway, for downtown Green Bay, for the city of Green Bay going forward in the decades ahead. As Barb Lemieux had said, this is really going to be a great opportunity for us to bring even more folks into Green Bay, into downtown Green Bay, when they're traveling, maybe not just to Lambeau, but also up to Door County. I think Brad would be able to note that there's an opportunity to catch even more of those folks as they're on their way up from Milwaukee or Chicago or even farther destinations, to get them to come downtown Green Bay and explore everything that we have to offer within this region. And also, as Barb said, it's not just for visitors, right? The public market is going to be for the people of Green Bay. The members of our Common Council would not have supported it if this wasn't going to be a real community asset and treasure for our residents. So again, just really want to echo what has already been said in terms of the thanks to the sponsors, of course to Brian Johnson and his entire team for their leadership and their willingness to take a leap of faith. This is not something that's been done by every Main Street program in the state of Wisconsin. This is at a different level, and it demonstrates an ability to think big and dream big and make great things happen. So I'm just really pleased to be able to be in this position as the mayor, to be able to celebrate this achievement and congratulate everyone who's played a role. So as Paul said, we got a little bit of a gap here to fill, or as Ken said, and we're really excited to get to that finish line and get here to cut that ribbon. But thanks for this incredible turnout. It's a real demonstration of how much community sport this project really has in Green Bay. So thank you all, and congratulations.
Ken said it a little bit. It said it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village and some private donors and some government entities to build a public market. And so with that, I want to welcome up Department of Administration Assistant Deputy Secretary Diana Moss. A mouthful, but come on up, Diana.
Every time I introduce myself, I preface it with, it's a lot of words. Good morning. I am thrilled to be here today on behalf of Governor Evers and the Department of Administration. We are so excited to have the Green Bay Public Market Project selected for a $500,000 non-state grant award, which the governor just announced 2 weeks ago. So congratulations. To be here today, kicking off the official groundbreaking, is nothing short of extraordinary. We had so much interest in the non-state grant program, and it took us a while to go through the more than 250 applications submitted statewide. Ultimately, 50 projects, including this one, with a total of more than $50 million, were approved across the state to support critical infrastructure, drive jobs and economic development, improve services for our people, and improve the quality of life for our communities. And that's exactly what we're here to celebrate today. This project is an incredible example of a strong public-private partnership, connecting the dots, as the governor likes to say. On Broadway and the city of Green Bay have been amazing partners throughout the last few years as we've gone through a transformational pandemic recovery. As we've seen dozens of new businesses open up, thanks in part to investments from the state through the diverse business assistance and Main Street bounce back programs, with fresh energy, entrepreneurs, and ideas helping to transform this area into a thriving hub. A lot of that was possible thanks to the dedication of On Broadway's powerhouse team, which we've heard and seen and recognized today. Our strategic partnerships and a bold vision to continue making Green Bay a world-class destination and a great place to live and work. There are so many exciting opportunities ahead for the public market, and it's only going to get better. Congratulations again to the amazing partners here today. We're proud to be one part of this incredible project.
All right, I have the best job today because I get to introduce speakers like this next guy. He told me to introduce him however I want. So please come to the stage, Tony Musin, Director of Business Development from Bolt, an awesome partner all along this journey. So thanks, Tony.
Awesome, thank you. I have to say, last name is Musin. It's not easy, and Brooke nailed it. So well done, thank you. Appreciate y'all being here. First of all, thank you to Brian and the On Broadway staff for really trusting the Bolt Company to deliver this vision. It is a complicated project. It's one that we really get excited about. We love to build projects that really touch people's lives. And we've talked about a couple of those that are in Northeast Wisconsin, highly visited. This will be the next, absolutely. So in addition to being the builder, we're also a financial supporter. And just as exciting, we will also be a tenant within the building. So I've got a Green Bay office currently that we will be relocating into this building when it's complete. So thank you all again. Very much appreciate your support. Ready to dig in and full steam ahead, as Barb said. So thank you.
All right, now introducing to the podium Patrick Skalecki, Vice President, Principal, and Green Bay Office Leader for GRAFE, and Rachel Grahowski, Founder and Principal from RHG Architecture and Design. Coming up.
Thank you, Brooke. Well, this is a crowd, and I forgot my sunglasses, so I'll try not to squint. But I just want to thank Brian and OBI for having us as part of this Catalyst project. It really is a one-of-a-kind experience for us as a design team. We've all seen downtown Green Bay grow over the years, change and re-envision itself, especially the Broadway district, into what it is today. The shipyard development on the south end, the rail yard on the north, made this central core a prime opportunity for the next signature project. And from the moment we first heard about this project, we knew we wanted to be part of this. It was going to change the downtown Broadway district to what it will be in the years to come. It will be another component to the quality of life in the city of Green Bay, promoting business growth in the area, and another reason people will want to live here and raise their kids. This project leverages an underutilized and somewhat dated building in a prime location to the central to the district, and along with our architect partner, RHG Architecture and Design, it will create a year-round draw with flexible space for vendors and tenants of many types and specialties. But it will be more than just a building. Our team has designed the public market to engage the street and the exterior like no other downtown facility has done. The project will have direct vendor access windows for walk-up customers to patronize the vendors along the street side of the building. We're creating an active and inviting ADA accessible outdoor streetscape that creates outdoor rooms with seating and tables for people to seat, gather, eat, and relax. There will be fireplaces with comfortable lounge chairs, trellis structures to provide shade and connection to the building, planters with integral benches, and plantings that accent the space, benchmarked by street trees on the north and south approaches. Festoon lighting will be located to give a warm glow and define the space itself in the evening. It will be a transformational facade with badging and signage, and will be a magnet for residents and visitors alike. So that's enough about the outside. I'm going to turn it over to Rachel here to talk a little bit about the interior of the building and some of the components that we're going to see when it's completed. Rachel?
Thanks, Pat. First, I want to say it's great to be here in Green Bay with all of you. When we were selected to be the architect for this project, I felt immense honor and joy and, of course, gratitude to be a part of a project that was about creating community and about opportunity for people to feel a sense of place and connection. Within the space, we've created multiple opportunities that are really going to transform the experience, as Pat was talking about, both inside and out. So I'm sure some people are wondering why an architect from New Jersey. My family has been part of the fabric of Green Bay for 5 generations. From farmers to entrepreneurs to developers to public servants and elected officials. My grandfather was an alderman. My grandfather was an alderman, led the council, and also part of the Green Bay Economic Development Authority. And he participated in many, many developments throughout Green Bay, including Lambeau Field, and what I recently found out is also this building. And so now, as we transition this building, from Old Fort Square to the Green Bay Public Market. This is not just professional, it's personal. So as Pat talked about, we will be activating both the exterior of the building and the interior of the building. There will be, on the first floor will be all of the tenants that will have different types. I think we're going to hear about who those tenants are, or some of those tenants pretty soon. But who will all have their own personality and their own culture and their own flavor. And there will be a variety of seating areas throughout the first floor that will also have their own personality, their own flavor, and their own opportunity. And that's to engage individuals however they want to be met and to attract people from the region and further beyond. On the first, we will also have art installed throughout that will be local artists and regional artists. We will also be having interactive elements that you will find throughout, that some will be kind of like an adventure as you go through the building. We'll be layering the experience. On the second floor, there will be the event space, which will overlook the public market. There will be a demonstration kitchen, which will be utilized for education and a variety of other opportunities and events. There will be additional seating, which again has interactive elements that I don't want to reveal too much because I want this to be an exciting adventure as you enter. And then there'll also be a kids' play area and a co-working space. And a concierge where we have removed some of the tiles from the building and preserved those, and they'll be used as the backdrop to the concierge because we believe that honoring the past is how you move into the future. It's been such an exciting opportunity to be a part of a project that's shaping the future through community. And one last thing I wanted to share, that last week I was in Scotland at a design leadership conference, and I was at a table with all at the dinner, and I was talking about this project, and I was talking about how excited I was to see it come to fruition, and they knew about the project already, and they shared their excitement, and they couldn't wait to come and be a part of it. And that just shows how far a project like this can go, how much it can attract people from beyond. And with that, I just can't wait for you all to experience the project.
It's always tricky planning for the wind. I had bets on that sign coming down before papers came out of the podium. Pat just mentioned, and Mayor Gemrick mentioned earlier also, about visitors, the many types of people who are going to visit this facility. It's not just those of us who live here, those of us who are employed here and to use as a catalyst for talent attraction and retention. It's visitors. It's those that are coming to our town for any reason, let alone whether it's a game day or a Door County vacation. Here to talk more about that, the importance of that, wonderful human being, board member of On Broadway, Brad Toll from Discover Green Bay.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. This is an awesome day for Green Bay. I've had a lot of people that have come up to me and said, so is this really a tourism attraction? Is this going to bring visitors into the downtown to this facility? And I'll answer with a little story, which my staff is going, oh no, not a story, but it'll be a quick one. I know we're just about ready to shovel dirt. But straight out of college, my first real job was to be a tour guide. So I traveled all over the world, actually taking 40 of my best friends. Well, at least the first day they were best friends. Didn't always end that way. But taking them all over the country and around the world. And looking at the beautiful trees and a beautiful fall day. Still today, I get that little itch to head to New England. And it's all the beautiful Wisconsin trees, reminds me of that. And as we go out to New England, one of my favorite days on the entire trip was the day that we were in Boston and we went to Faneuil Hall in Quincy Market. 275 years ago, that was built in Boston. It still ranks oftentimes in the top 10 of visitor attractions in the United States. I think one of the reasons that I really, really enjoyed it was because as we went in there, it was always a lunch break, a little bit of shopping. Tourists love to shop. But we would go in there and have lunch, and I'd be sitting right next to people that were working in downtown Boston. What a great way to experience the community as a local. And truly, visitors today, as they travel around, they want to do things the locals do. At the visitor center, we always get, where's the best old fashioned, where's the best fish fry? They want to do the things that local people do. And when you go to a public market, that's an awesome place for residents to grab lunch, to grab something to take home for dinner. That's a great place for visitors to rub elbows with the locals and find out where the best old fashioned really is, according to the person they're talking to. And of course, at Faneuil Hall in Quincy Market, it was always fun to have a lobster roll. I think visitors here will replace that with cheese curds. But to have that opportunity is huge. We also know from visitor studies that over 90% of people that relocate to a destination have experienced that destination as a visitor first. So again, rubbing elbows with the locals in a public market like this, what a huge opportunity for recruitment for our community, to fill those jobs that we're working so hard to try and fill. And keeping our real estate agents busy, I know there's some here, is they're trying to sell homes to the folks looking at making our community home. So this truly is a tourism attraction. And on behalf of the millions of visitors that come to Green Bay every year, thank you for your work on this. They are going to love it. Thank you.
So I had a city meeting last night, and we left when we were done and came and had some dinner right over here. And sitting at the bar, there was a couple there who was in town for the game from England. So we started talking, well, where have you been? What have you seen? And the importance of an old-fashioned here is where this is going. She talked about she had tried cheese curds. Great. She had been to a certain number of places. Great. You had a great time at the game? Wonderful. I'm like, all right, so what else is missing? I'm like, have you had an old-fashioned? No. Okay, round of old-fashions. Brings it to her. She has a sip, and her response, well, that's lovely. So the old-fashions are real. Speaking of lovely, it's my pleasure now to bring up Brian Johnson. Brooke, I know, right? Brooke talked earlier. Come on. Brooke said we need a fearless leader. So someone who has, I believe, coming into now 10th year or just finishing 10th year? 8. Okay, well, it's close. Feels like 10, right? Look, we've made great strides as an organization. I think I can speak on behalf of our board. The direction that we've had, the impact that we believe we have on the community, hopefully the support that we are giving and offering and nurturing for all of our businesses up and down the street. You can't do that if you don't have the right team, yes, of course, but the right leadership. We're very proud, we're very honored to have Brian leading our organization. And so without ado, a man who will come and karaoke with me and has way too many emails in his inbox, Brian Johnson.
All right, folks, so it is my job to bring this home. And I get to go over maybe some of the more tangible talking points about the facility and the operation. But Brad, first, I want to meet your Boston story with another Boston story, which our staff will enjoy. We were there last year and went to Faneuil Hall and Quincy Market, wonderful places. And of course, I wanted to experience a lobster roll. And we walked all around looking for the place that had the best lobster rolls, and we found it. And I panic ordered and ordered a cheeseburger and really disappointed our staff. And I'm reminded of that routinely by them. But thank you all for being here. There are a lot of gratitudes and thank yous to go around. And of course, I'm going to kind of put a bow on some of these. And one of those that I really want to start with is our board of directors, who really had the courage, as it was mentioned earlier, right? Not every Main Street program does a project like this, and not every nonprofit organization takes on something as challenging. And our board had the courage to say yes. And that started with early conversations with Peter Nugent when he was board president. It moved into Gail McNutt when she was our board president, and of course now Barb, who is really taken on a big responsibility with overseeing this organization as we go through sort of the biggest part of this project. And the other folks that I want to recognize too are the other on-Broadway staff. The public market folks were introduced, but Allie, Betsy, Carrie, Quincy, Laura, Fatma, if you guys could just raise your hands. The reason these folks are so important, even though they haven't necessarily had direct involvement in the project, they've picked up the slack, right? They've picked up the slack that has allowed me to invest time in this, and Mary and Brooke, and without their support to really take care of the rest of the on-Broadway operations, none of this would be possible. So I want to go back in time a little bit and talk a little bit about the history of how we got here. And I think it was around 2018 that Garrett and I were walking in front of this building. I said, Garrett, what do you think, about this building and the history of it, and what do you think of a public market? And that's when Garrett said, let me share some history with you. And unbeknownst to me at the time, Garrett had ongoing conversations with people like Jimmy Pandel, who was one of the first owners of St. Paul Fish Company in Milwaukee, and people like Tommy Atwell and Nicole Schneider, who I just learned the other day from her husband Paul, was one of the early visionaries around this. Paul Linsmeyer, who had a business plan that he turned over to us. Nalita Sanchez from WDC, who was a director with On Broadway at the time, who actually had a business plan for a public market in the Larson Green site when On Broadway was the owner of that site. So a lot of folks have had a vision around this. And as a team, we started to visit a lot of public markets, and not just our staff, our board members and other volunteers. And to date, we've probably visited well over 60 different public markets across the world, and we've learned something new and interesting from every single one of them. And it ultimately led to our decision and support from the board to make an offer to purchase on this building in 2019. Well, of course, everybody knows what happened in 2020, and we unfortunately had to let that offer lapse because, we were really focused on Broadway and how do we get through that pandemic. And as we started to recover through COVID, a number of grants that we feverishly wrote for were secured, which really helped the recovery of On Broadway as an organization, but more importantly, it allowed us to get back to work on this vision that we just didn't want to let go. And as a result, then, we ultimately purchased this building in April of 2022. And Chelsea Koken, who I think is out here somewhere, was a staff member with us at that time and did a lot of work to really help us position the organization to kind of take some of this over. And then we immediately got to work on tenant relocation strategy with a lot of the folks that were here. And then, of course, as you see today, almost an entirely interior demolished building. But before we even get to all of that, you have to start with the why. Why did On Broadway want to do this? There's a few reasons. One, this was a USDA designated food desert. The second that Brad talked about is the visitor count. This area sees 6 million visitors a year, and a lot of times when those folks come here, they want something more to do. And of course, they come here to visit the Packers, the Botanical Garden, the National Railroad Museum, but everybody needs to eat. And so we saw an opportunity there, to really create a visitor destination experience that could combine food with a great experience, a great local experience here in Green Bay. We knew we wanted a catalytic project, and we've done some mass modeling on the vacant sites around here, and we've estimated that with this project and in conversations that we've had with developers, that we could see over $100 million of new development in the immediate vicinity of this project. As we did research on this project, we started to uncover things that were really fascinating that led to the decision of why we do this. One is the average public market shopper spends twice as much as a mall shopper. And that's not just in the facility. It's all of the businesses, right, that you see up and down this street. We wanted to extend the stay of the visitor. We wanted people to come down here and not just get their hair done and leave, not just grab a cup of coffee and leave, but to visit multiple locations. This was an opportunity zone, as designated by the federal government. And so we knew that there were some incentives and interest in opportunity zones, and this was no different. But then the other thing that we started to observe is with the farmers market on Broadway, which has consistently been ranked as one of the largest in the state of Wisconsin, was attracting nearly 250,000 visitors every single year to the Broadway district. And many of those folks that would come to the farmers market would oftentimes graduate into brick and mortar storefronts. I think of Aurora's Apothecary, Voyager's Bakehouse, Bay Area Burger, right? These are businesses that started in the farmers market and graduated into brick and mortar storefronts and continue to have an impact here in our district. And so we knew the farmers market was a driver of success, and we saw that folks who were starting there were looking for a more permanent investment. And that is why this building started to make a lot of sense. So as we started to really kind of flesh out this idea, we knew we needed really strong partners to make this happen. And of course, we started with our capital campaign cabinet. Well, first we started with our board, then our capital campaign cabinet. We met with a lot of folks. And Garrett and I had the pleasure of meeting with Ken Stromiska at Copper State Brewing, and we learned that Ken was the first president and CEO of the Community Foundation. And we thought about some of the folks that came after Ken who are retired, and we thought, gosh, Ken's got to be at least 80 years old. And of course, Ken is still this dashing young gentleman here in front of us today. Our first conversation, of course, doesn't start with, will you be the chair of a campaign? It's, do you like this project? And Ken was incredibly excited and eager about it. And I remember a conversation I had with someone who said, we were looking for who would be the best person to chair this campaign, and said, well, it's got to be Ken. He cannot keep himself away from an exciting project like this. And so we're very excited, Ken, that you couldn't resist. To purchase this building, we needed a lending partner, and Capital Credit Union, Lori Butts, is here today. Thank you. Because we met with a number of lenders, and sometimes projects don't always fit nicely into the portfolio with folks that you're talking to. They want to be involved, but sometimes lending doesn't work. And Lori and Capital, we appreciate your support because you really stepped up and allowed us to purchase this building and fund some of our work in progress. And without a strong lending partner, none of that is possible. Ken alluded to it, but on the fundraising side, we partnered with Bridget O'Connor to really kind of help us understand how to shape a campaign. Broadway doesn't really have a deep history of donor engagement, and so that's really challenging when you think about the daunting task that was in front of us. And for us to have the expertise not only of Ken and his background, but Bridget and her team, and then by way of Bridget's team, Don Salman, who conducted our feasibility study, we're very appreciative of the work that you have helped to kind of guide the way that we have shaped this campaign. And then from there, we moved on to who's going to design this. That is one of the most critical decisions that you have to make early on in the process. And Grafe was an incredibly strong partner with us from the very beginning. Rachel was retained by Grafe and had a lot of qualities and expertise in facilities like this. And so you can just see those amazing stories as well and the connection to Green Bay. And so that duo has been an incredible partner for us in connecting us really to other partners that we will eventually announce, but are going to be really key players in this project as a whole. And then once we had, kind of our soft, we did a soft bidding and we had to choose who our builder was going to be. And that's not easy. There were a lot of great companies in our community, all of which who could have done this, but we had to evaluate the partnership and who was going to bring the most to the table. And Bolt, really stepped up to do that because it was more than just building a project. It was this need to have a partner, and Bolt has done that. And I think one of the key things that they agreed to was bringing their downtown office to Green Bay, and their Green Bay office to downtown. And that was was really what sealed the deal for us, because aside from building this building, we need to operate it. And their ability to rent out that second floor, which is typically very difficult to convert into retail, that was really a big contributing factor to how we could stabilize our perform on the operation of the facility and ultimately get this thing done. So thank you, Bolt. Kate Burgess and her team at Elevate 97. This is going to be another fun reveal at some point in the future, but they've been hard at work on our sign package and ultimately what the final sign will look like on this building. What you've seen to date is a rendering, but they have a lot of great expertise, and working with them team has been a real pleasure. And Kate is also on our capital campaign cabinet, and so we appreciate her support there as well. And then I want to acknowledge Element, who worked on our brand package. Mary kind of led that effort and worked with Element to kind of create that brand identity, which of course will become a big part of this facility into the future. So thank you, Element, for that support. And then I'd like to acknowledge two individuals that, one who drove here from Milwaukee, the other from Madison. Paul Schwartz with Milwaukee Public Market has been an incredible mentor. And Paul, we are so grateful for the time that you have spent with us, asking for nothing in return. You have really helped us guide the way that we've laid out some of our spaces. I know in our last meeting you talked about how jealous you were because you started 20 years ago. And we have the privilege of being able to learn from some of the things maybe that you would have done differently. And for those who weren't aware, Milwaukee was just named the #1 public market in America, right here in Wisconsin. And they were also selected to host the International Public Market Conference, which I believe is going to be the first time in 12 years that it will be here in the United States. And so we're excited to be working with you on that event and can't wait to see the impact that that has on the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. And then the other person I'd like to recognize is Keisha Harrison, who drove up here from Madison. For those who don't know, Madison is simultaneously working on the opening of their public market as well. And we have really been observing them at a distance, their business plan, the way that they've navigated, some of their biggest challenges have been really great learning opportunities for us as a team as well. We've studied that business plan relentlessly and have incorporated some of those lessons into what we're doing. So thank you both for being here today. So we have to talk about the importance of government investment in projects like this. Nationally, for every dollar that government invests into a public market is leveraged 20 times over. So that means for every dollar that the government invests in a project like this, the private sector sticks in $20. And that is a really important case study for why governments get involved in projects like this. Now, only 60% of public markets nationally are owned by the nonprofit sector. The other 40% are privately owned. But there are a lot of advantages when the nonprofit sector gets involved in projects like this. And so in order for a nonprofit to do that, though, it does require state support. So thank you to the state of Wisconsin, obviously, for the grant announcement that came out a couple weeks ago but was reiterated today. We want to thank the city. Mayor Genrich has been an incredible partner with really problem solving. It's really easy to say these are problems. It's a different story to have somebody who's willing to help solve that problem. And Mayor Genrich and city staff and the administration have been incredibly helpful with getting over some big challenges that we had early on. I want to thank Pat Buckley, Chairman Buckley with the county board, and Troy Streckenbach. We are still working with the county. We think we've got a really positive path forward, but we know that we would not be in that position to have this conversation, have this opportunity without your support. So we thank both of you for everything that you've done to really help us get here. And then last but not least, I want to acknowledge someone from whom you heard at the opening, Chairman Hill and Oneida Nation, obviously a really important government entity here in our region, and we appreciate many of the partnerships that we're going to have with you and enjoy with your tribal members here in the event space and some of the other things that we're incorporating into this market. Without all of you, that support has really been a catalyst, I guess, for getting other folks interested, and that's what's really important. When government's not involved, it's really hard to secure the private sector. So thank you, Chairman Hill and the United Nation. I really want to acknowledge the community as well, and I think this turnout here today shows the commitment to this project. We did a lot of community outreach. We had a lot of public input. We did listening sessions. We did a number of surveys that had an incredible response rate. It's really fun, and when you really know people are invested and interested, if a private sector decides to put a sign on their building, nobody says boo about it. But I love watching the debates of that sign should be green. No, that sign should be red. And it's funny, because, it really shows how much people care about this project when they really wouldn't necessarily care about it on any other type of development. They recognize this is a community project that is going to be transformational, and they want to be a part of it. just like all of you are here today because you want to be a part of it, and we thank you for that. Ken taught, we don't have to clap at everything, but if you want, okay. I joked with Tony, it's like watching the State of the Union when you clap after everything. Ken talked a little bit about private philanthropy. I really want to acknowledge their investment in this project, just as Ken did, because it took a leap of faith, and it took private philanthropy to substantially deviate from their traditional investments in basic needs. Green Bay, Brown County, Northeast Wisconsin, we all know how incredibly generous it is. It's one of the reasons we all choose to live here. But economic development projects are equally important in our community, and our philanthropic community has really stepped up to embrace the impact that a project like this can happen and help us understand how investments in a project like this can address the root causes of some of the challenges that we do experience in our community. It creates a community space that addresses the loneliness epidemic that we are seeing throughout our nation. It helps with entrepreneurial training to make people more self-sufficient. It provides that social connectedness that is so critically important. This project will create over 200 jobs that are so much needed here in our residential community right behind us. And it brings program partners to the table that can meet people where they are. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we see sometimes in our community is finding a path forward for these programs and services, to find the folks that will most benefit from those programs. And we're going to be able to do that here right in this space. And so we're very excited about that. The tenants, that's like the slow clap, right? The only one. Yeah. Okay, tenants have been raised a little bit. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to let you down today. We're not going to talk about those today, but I will tell you that we are making great progress there. As you can see, we are now leasing. Ron is our contact point person. Ron's over there. There he is, all by himself. Hello, Ron. It's really important. This is not a food court. This is a public market. And so the types of tenants that we recruit are very, very important. As Paul from Milwaukee has taught us, it's more art than science. And we've really gravitated to that expression because the types of tenants you put in here will determine the success of this facility. We have over 1,000 residential units that are either proposed or under construction in downtown Green Bay. This becomes sort of like a grocery store. These folks need a place to shop. They will become weekly people that come here. We've talked about the visitors. So you've got to have a good tenant balance and a good tenant mix that can attract all those types of people. And so as Ron has been doing a phenomenal job, we want to do this strategically. We want a slow release on who those tenants are going to be because we think they deserve to have their own opportunity to tell their story and why they chose to be in this space. And we want a way to continue to keep you engaged, honestly, until this place opens. So you will see that in the coming months. Okay, we're close to the end here, folks. Real quickly, construction timeline, because that is the question we get asked more often than not. When a private sector does a development, they go and pull the loan and then, get their permits and then they can go. This is a little different because it does require fundraising. And so, our timeline is oftentimes dictated by how quickly we have success there. And then the other piece is how quickly materials can become available in a really challenging construction environment. And so, again, we appreciate our team at Bolt and Grafe and RHG for really walking us through a number of scenarios to get where we are today. But what you will see today after the groundbreaking is, I believe, sometime early December is what we're thinking, that we'll be able to trench this out up here and pour a new foundation wall and get to work on what will ultimately be a new exterior facade. There is lead time on things like rebar and a steel package, and that just takes time and patience, and we're going to have to wait for that. But in the meantime, they're going to start some work on the interior as well, and so you might start to see crews starting to mobilize to take care of some of that. Additionally, there's not a day that goes by that we're not asked about what the parking solution is. And so we do have a solution for that, and we're incredibly grateful for the city's willingness to step up as a partner on this, because the one thing I will tell you is that private philanthropy and donors really don't like to contribute to parking ramps. It's not very exciting, right? But parking is obviously something we need to address. Fun fact, and more, when I tell people this, it's amazing to see the shock and awe. As we went through some early pricing estimates on what it would take for the small parking structure in the back, $40,000 per parking stall. right? And so this is why communities don't overbuild parking. But it's really important that we obviously have the right solution. And so we partnered with the city, and we worked a lot with Aaron Ravinsky and Matt Buchanan at the city to come up with a request for proposal that is now out for developers, where the city will be a partner to build the parking to meet the demand that we currently do have in the district, and a private developer will step up to provide a housing solution, which continues to attack that need and that challenge here in our community. So we thank Mayor Genrich and others with city staff that have really stepped up and been a partner in that. Okay, so for those who are interested in a tour and hearing a little bit more narrative about what's going on the inside, some of our team members will be meeting in front of the stairs after this. Feel free to join them. Of course, there are some refreshments inside for anybody that wants to hang around. We're going to do some shovel tosses, and Julie Guile will be available for photography. We do have a number of groups we need to get through, but folks, anybody is welcome to come up here once we've gone through that order and be a part of the excitement. We want you to feel ownership in this, and we want you to feel like you are a part of something really special, because you are. And so please come up and take advantage of that. And so with that, I'm going to close with one thing. And so Ken talked a lot about the private philanthropy in this project, and that is critically important. And that was the $8 million number that Ken had talked about. The overall capital stack is much more complex than that. It includes, obviously, government support. It includes certain pieces of financing and new market tax credits and grants. And so the overall project cost is much more substantial. And one of the things that was, new market tax credits are incredibly complex, but we received really great news this morning from what's called an additional development entity, that if we can close on this project on time, which means by the end of the year roughly, to give a $5 million allocation, $1 million contribution. So that was exciting news. But here's the caveat. New market tax credits, and if we can secure that one, will total about $3 million to this project. They're like challenge grants, because when you close, you have to have a leverage loan, which can be a combination of cash contributions and loans to the project, but you can't have too big of a loan, otherwise, right? So my point is that now is the time to strike. If we want to close this financial gap, we need all of you here to really think about what participation in this project can look like to you. As I mentioned, we are a 501c3 organization. That means your pledge to this project, your commitment to this project is tax deductible. We have had donors that range from $100 to $3 million. There is room at the table for every level. And if everybody here today contributed $100, just think about the impact that that would have. And for those that feel particularly inspired and excited by the momentum of this project, of course, we would welcome larger contributions to ensure that we can secure that new market tax credit match, because it is so incredibly important to the success of this project. And as I'm oftentimes reminded by Garrett, who's said times over the years, if easy, everyone would do it. But we need your support now more than ever. This groundbreaking is a great ceremony to celebrate the successes we've had right now, and we are really imploring you to be a part of the momentum and make sure that we see this thing successfully close. So with that, thank you, everybody, today. So all the speakers, I think we're going to start with all the speakers. Come on up. We're going to do the first shovel toss. And then I think Mary will kind of walk through.
Hi, I'm sorry. I got a truck and I've got to get it for.
I always
And then we're doing
What was the calculation with that shot? Wait till the length of the same. Go north,
Toss it now.
Who's counting? Who's counting? Somebody count.